Hey guys, my name's Gavin, welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be showing you how my friend Miles and I made this Man of the Year inspired beat inside of FL Studio. It takes a lot of like rock elements and infuses it with trap a little bit. I really like this type of music. It's super fun to make. Follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at gavinhadley_. And without further ado, let's get into it. So, I'm going to talk about the effects that were put on the guitars. Actually, I'm going to play the beat.
Whoa, keep it up, Gavin.
We can skip around here. Right, so yeah, that's just a quick overview of the beat that I'm going to be showing you guys how to make today. So,
before we talk about anything else, I just want to real quick talk about what was going on when I recorded the guitars and how I got all of these sounds. So when you're recording beats like this that have several different guitar parts, it's really important to keep in mind how you're going to separate them, because you don't want to just stack the same thing on top of each other a bunch of different times. So the first thing I added here is this acoustic. I'll just play it for you raw. To get that type of sound, even if you're not a guitar player, if you are a guitar player, that type of sound, look up bar chords, very open sound, strumming it with a pick. Using a VST, make sure that the notes in the chords are very spread apart from each other, and it's a lot of notes in a chord, around 5 or 6, because that's how many strings there are on a guitar. Second thing I added was this. It's played on a nylon string guitar, which is different from the other one, just separates it out. Next, I played this part. It's on an electric guitar, and it's palm muted, which means I'm resting my palm on the bridge. It gives it that really muted, chunky sound that you hear in Man of the Year at the beginning. If you have a VST, there's probably an option for palm muting if you have an electric guitar. I know that there are one-shot kits that have guitars that sound exactly like that in them, so look for those. There's also a part 2 to the top line where I actually play it with 2 different takes. So there's one panned far to the left and one panned a little bit to the right, and this just gives it a super wide sound. And also the one is played down an octave, so it sounds like this. That's just going to help give it a bigger sound and also further separate it from the other guitars, because again, with so many guitars, you need to find a way to differentiate them and do something a little bit different with the tone on each of them so that they all stand out from each other and it's not just a wash of ugly guitar sounds.
This entire beat started with the guitar idea that Miles had, and then for me to understand it a little bit better and to help critique it slightly and like add more ideas to it, I put it into the piano roll as we were making it via Discord. And this is what the piano roll sounds like. It's just a chord progression that he played. It's not strummed or anything. And then I added a little top line over it that he ended up playing on guitar. So this is what this sounds like. In one of the guitar parts, he ended up giving a little bit of variation right here because this was pretty repetitive. But overall, a super simple pattern using like these repetitive notes right here, leading back up to the start again. It's really just like a wave shape. So super simple melody there. So we built off that. So this is the acoustic. So this is just the chord progression just strummed out. So I put a Wolf compressor on it, just messed with the lo-fi and then the comp a little bit. And then I added RC20. Added a little bit of noise and widened it and boosted the gain just a little bit. Pretty subtle because I already liked how he processed that when he was recording it. So moving on, we have this electric top line. So I EQ'd it, took out a lot of the low end just to make it take up frequencies in the higher range. It helped blend everything, all the other guitar parts together. A little bit of reverb, again to help blend stuff, and then guitar rig, and I used the alternative crunch preset. That's a really good preset to use when you're trying to go for these type of rock sounds. So the second top line, same thing as the first one, except there's this little switch up right here. Alright, so again, I just have guitar rig on it using the alternative crunch preset. We have this electric rhythm guitar, which is just like a palm muted guitar. Again, playing the chord progression. Same preset, alternative crunch. We have a nylon version of the top line that plays in more like relaxed parts. I'm going to talk about the layout in a little bit. This is what this sounds like. Added a lot of effects to it. So I EQ'd out some of the low end, and then I took out this harsh frequency right here just by going like this, finding where the frequency is coming from. So it's right there, and then I just dropped it down a little bit. And then I added reverb, again to help blend everything in, make it sound a little bit more spacious. And that's about it for the guitar elements. The little vocal that I did, this is what that sounds like. So I'm gonna play that without effects first. what I do is I just hum into the microphone and then chop random parts of my humming into different sections, and I kind of like composite all of those together into one final vocal. We're going to talk about the first thing I did, which was EQ, just taking out a lot of the high ends and a lot of the low ends. I talk about this in like every single video. My vocal processing chain tends to be about the same. I've been using this plugin though recently. It's the M Auto Pitch. It's a free auto tune, and I use it for the formants. This is just like a super cool way to like pitch stuff up and mess with the frequencies, but it acts a little bit different than like a normal pitching up thing would do. So this is what it sounds like before and with it. So it gives it like a super interesting, cool sound. So moving on, we just have a Valhalla vintage verb here. So I wanted to drown it in reverb, make it take up a lot of space, and I really thought this was just like the perfect plugin to do so. And now after this, I wanted to add a little bit of texture to it with RC20. So I used the vinyl and wobbled it a little bit, distorted it a bunch to give it that texture, a little bit of magnetic, and then I de-widened it a little bit as well. And then I messed with the stereo separation knob right here to help blend it in and like fill it out with the other elements of the sample. So that's honestly about it for the melodies in the beat. So I didn't end up laying it out like I would lay out a loop. We just went right into the drums. We were feeling inspired. Normally I don't do drums, but today was an exception. I really like doing these pop drums. I'm going to talk about the drums as we go on and talk about the layout too. So it just starts with this part.
Keep it up, Gavin.
We wanted to add a little bit of something, so we put the acoustic, just a super soft sound to add in. We can start talking about the hi-hat and the snare. So this is just a snare. It's hitting, what is it, 2 and 4? No, maybe. It's just a super nice snare sound that I found online somewhere. And after that, we have a hi-hat. I just played out this rhythm, created just to add a little bit of bounce to our rhythm. And then after this, we have an anti-drop, which is something that a lot of artists do to like build up suspense and like really keep the listener guessing. I remember hearing it a lot from like artists like Charlie Puth and stuff, so that this is what that was inspired from. Like you think it's about to drop, we have this riser playing. Then we simplify it back, we bring out a lot of the elements. So we have this, the acoustic top line playing, and then we have the palm muted part playing again. Brought in a different sound here. Instead of having the snare, we simplified it back to just a rim. It's a little bit more of a soft sound. And then after that, we have a kick. You guys haven't heard the final kick pattern, but this is just a version that was made unique, and then we simplified it a lot. Just a rack kick, classic sound. So that's it for that part. Now we brought in this hi-hat again. Just start getting a little bit more bounce, building up a little bit. Some people would be expecting the drop right here, but we go into this part. That's when I bring in the 808. Since we have like the palm muted part and then like a lot of other stuff going on, and especially in like these type of beats, we wanted to keep the 808 pattern super simple and then tucked in the background, just filling up space. We didn't want it to be like one of the elements in the foreground. Instead, we like have the kick doing a lot more of that punching, and then we just have the 808 there for support. So it's just following the bass notes of what Miles played on the guitar. And I bring in my vocal. And we have the riser, and we have this drum fill sound just from a free pack or something that I found online. That's what that sounds like. Then we have a crash to help wrap up this riser and drum fill. I think crashes are like really important because they help like close out that energy that was created from, they help like disperse it, the energy that was created right here. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's why I did it. So we finally let the listeners get a glimpse at the electric top line melody. We held it off until this part because we thought that it carried like a lot of energy, and we didn't want that energy to be released earlier. It like really takes the listener off guard, and just, it's a lot of energy, as you guys can hear. It's all about like capturing, I'm gonna say it, it's like capturing a vibe. Then we bring in the busy, I'm not gonna say busy, but the more complicated kick pattern. That's what this sounds like. We have the two-step hi-hat come in, and I randomize the velocities on it. And I also have an EQ here. This is for the palm muted part. So it's not working right now because there's no 808 playing, but once the 808 comes in, we took it out to make room for the 808. That's just something you guys have all heard before. We have a second part right here. The second part of the hook brings in the different electric top line. This one is the one with like the little switch up. we bring in the vocal there too, and then we keep the vocal. And now we're trying to disperse a little bit of energy. So we get rid of the electrics, and then we have the strumming pattern playing still. We have the vocal going, then we bring in the strings. It's a super simple pattern. You guys can see the MIDI here. I just wanted to make sure I randomized the velocities a lot, separated the stereo on it a little bit and turned it down a bunch. And this is what it sounds like. And we took out the bouncy hi-hat for this part too, trying to take away elements. We got rid of the kick. We just have the 808 playing. So then after that, we strip back down to this anti-drop part right here. So it's the same pattern right here. And instead of waiting like the 24 bars to get back into it like we did right here, we only have it as 16 bars right now. Like, this is one of my favorite parts of the entire track. I just really like the vocal and then how the guitars blend together with that 808. So we get right back into it now. Same pattern as right here. We do the same things, except now for this part, we have the violin playing, the vocal, and then the palm muted part. And we do a technique that a lot of artists use. We mute everything, like right here. I know artists like Eden and then like Poor Stacy, and a lot of artists do this technique where they cut out the track, so it's just silence for a second. I think that's a really good way of introducing a drop. Same pattern again, but we continue it for another 8 bars, really just to try to like really emphasize this part. It's like having the most energy out of any of the parts in the track. Really make the listeners know that like this is the grand finale of the song. And then it just fades out with this playing. So this is something that I was fiddling around with in the MIDI. It's just a one shot. We didn't use it anywhere because it was a little busy, but I thought for the end, it was just like a unique part you can add into the end of the song. So yeah, just going down the scale. Trying to like vary up the different patterns. Each pattern's just a little bit different. They have like a similar rhythm, but I just switched around my notes a little bit. That's about it. And then for like the second part here, I put the 808 back in because it fades out. But yeah, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for clicking on the video. More new content on the way. As always, comment down below what you'd like to see next. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Julian, welcome back.